So J-pop is fun because it's evolved massively over the years. From the city pop that dominated the 80s to the idol culture that's run the 2010s, things are always shifting. Heck, even in 2022 we saw big shifts, with internet-driven artists like Fujikaze, Vondi, and Otto breaking out in huge ways. But let's pretend the internet doesn't exist yet, at least not how it does now, and go back to a simpler time for J-pop, the 1990s, where you only had one idol at a time instead of 400. And let's take a look back at the chart-topping singles for every year and figure out which ones are great, which ones are terrible, and which ones are bizarre. Starting with 1990, where our number one song is Odoru Ponpokorin by B.B.QUEENS, who I've never heard of before, but they won the Japan Record Award for this, so clearly something was going right here. This was the opening to the children's anime Chibi Maruko-chan, and you can definitely tell. This feels like a precursor to the moe anime pop wave that's so prevalent today, if you ignore the random guy screaming ad-libs throughout the song. You get the very high-pitched, child-sounding singer, along with a simple but surprisingly catchy chorus that I feel embarrassed to admit I actually really like. Outside of the choruses though, this song is surprisingly weird, with some forward-thinking production choices and off-kilter verses, again featuring the random guy yelling ad-libs. This sounds really ahead of its time for 1990, and you can definitely tell the influence it's had over Akibahara core. It's a solid track, and it's so catchy that I can really see why it popped off. It's really easy to get it stuck in your head and for it to never come out. For 1991, we have a double single, Oh Yeah, and Love Story wa Totsuzen ni by Oda Kazumasa. Oh Yeah is a pretty solid song. The percussion wouldn't sound out of place in something released today, and it's a pretty solid showcase of his singing. I do wish the chorus was more prominent on this track, however. It spends a lot of time building to a chorus that simply doesn't last long enough. It does finally get a chance to stick around at the end, and would you believe it, that's the best part of the song. It's a pretty understated song with some problems, but it's a decently pleasant listen. Love Story wa Totsuzen ni is quite a contrast, however, as it's a city pop song that immediately has a lot more energy. Right from the start, this track is an instantly danceable funk rhythm. The chorus is stunning with a glittering melody and a fantastic vocal performance. Everything on the song, from the drums to the horns, sound upbeat and epic. This is a gem of a song, and it's really great. You should definitely check this one out. 1992 is another double single with Kome Kome CLUB's Kimi ga Iru Dake de and Aishiteru. Kimi ga Iru Dake de seems to be the main song here, and while it's not full-on city pop, it still has some fun funk touches. Unlike the last one, however, this song takes a more acoustic approach during most of the track. The track's mostly focused on the melodies and its singer, both of which are quite good, which helps the song nail down a really bittersweet feeling. It's nothing too stand out, but it's definitely a solid song. Aishiteru, on the other hand, is a much more slowed down B-side that takes an even lighter and more acoustic approach. The singer feels lower down in the mix here, with more of an emphasis on the instrumental and the overall vibe of the track. Everything here is fine enough, but it's just a little too slow and boring for me to want to actively listen to. For 1993, we have CHAGE and ASKA's Yeah Yeah Yeah. There's 3 songs on this single, but the first and main one is Yeah Yeah Yeah, a very upbeat song that's just infectious with its good energy. The vocals sound so happy and passionate, and it really rubs off on the listener. And the chorus of just yeah 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 over and over again sounds like the kind of thing that could have been an internet meme a couple years ago. It follows a lot of the trends we've seen in other songs that have hit number 1, with some trumpets, a decent amount of funk, and an epic, soaring chorus. It's a song that puts you in a great mood, and definitely one I'll be re-listening to. The second one, Yume no Bannin, is also groovy, but it slows down the pace a bit. It feels more like a ballad than anything else. I also think it just runs a little long. It's a pleasant song, but it doesn't do enough to justify a 6.5 minute runtime. It's not as good as the A-side. The third one is Kimi wa Nani mo Shiranai Mama, which I couldn't find an actual studio recording of on YouTube in my admittedly very brief search, so I listened to a live version instead. This sounds pretty similar to the second song, but is even more of an understated ballad. Take what I said about that one and apply it here. Too long and not as good as the other tracks. The 1994 number 1 was Mr. Children's Innocent World. I've planned to make a video on the worst Japanese band names for a while, and if I do, believe me that Mr. Children is going to be on that list. Mr. Children's Innocent World does not sound like the kind of thing that you want to be listening to. This one is a lot more rock focused than a lot of the other funky pop tracks, but it still has a long and melodic chorus with a lot of high notes. The song is a lot less overproduced than the others by virtue of not being anything close to city pop, so that's a nice change of pace. Good singing seems to be really valued in the Japanese mainstream, as this is another song with a really great vocal performance. Unfortunately, I just don't think think the instrumental is that interesting. The song runs for almost 6 minutes, and yet the instrumental never really changes it up, not even in the chorus. The melodies are going crazy there, but the instrumental is just stuck in place the whole time. It's a decent track, but not something I'd revisit. There was another song on this single though, that being My Confidence Song. This is the shortest song we've seen at just under 2 minutes, so I was expecting it to do a lot in that runtime. Instead, it does pretty much nothing. It's a folk track with nothing but an acoustic guitar and the guy's voice, and it doesn't do much of anything. The melodies aren't really good, the background vocals fall flat and fail to make the song any less boring, and the instrumental once again feels stuck, like it's repeating the same 6 or 7 seconds the entire song. This one's not good. For 1995, we get Dreams Come True with Love 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 and Arashiga Kuru. Love 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 is a weird one, as it's a dreamy pop song, but it feels like it doesn't really have a chorus. All of the songs so far have had standout choruses that are something you can latch onto and go, oh, so that's why this song popped off. This really doesn't, and I honestly think it's weaker for it. It just feels like 2.5 minutes of rambling in circles until we get to the last minute where the track unravels and it becomes a mess in a bad way. The drums get really annoying, and the way they did the multiple overlaid vocal lines sounds terrible. There's also not really anything special going on in the instrumental, as it ranges from really bland, like in the strings, to really annoying, like the constant snapping going on throughout the track. I really don't like this one. The second song, Arashiga Kuru, weirdly sounds like the much more obvious hit here, even though I don't think it was the reason why people bought this single. It returns to the funky city pop style that we've seen on many of the hit songs so far, with a much catchier chorus and an actual song structure. The vocals are much improved on this one, the production's actually really fun, and it's a solid track. I'd much rather listen to that than the A-side. In 1996, we have our first and only repeat artist. It's the unfortunately named Mr. Children again with Namonaki Uta. This one is a little more interesting than their hit from 1994, however, it still has many of the same issues. For one, the chorus once again has a solid melody, but an instrumental that just doesn't feel like it keeps up with what the singer's doing. And just like Innocent World, the instrumental never feels like it evolves. It's a lot more interesting towards the start, but it's still just the same thing for the whole song. Even when it tries to mix it up towards the end, it does it with a really clunky sounding build-up featuring some rap-inspired vocals that does not work. And again, the song's just too long, clocking it at 5.5 minutes. I think parts of this are better though. As I said, the instrumental at the start is a lot cooler, and I think the chorus melody here is better. But for every part that's better, there's a step back. The vocals are still good, but they're worse than Innocent World, and that aforementioned build-up to the final chorus sucks. They still have the same problems they did 2 years ago and then some. This isn't good. The B-side is Mata Eru Kana. Remember when I said the singing on the Mr. Children songs was generally pretty good? Yeah, not here. His vocals just get on my nerve throughout this song. Just like the Innocent World B-side, this isn't a rock song, instead being a straight-up pop song with some attempted funk touches that instead just sound really half-assed. There's also a really weird breakdown with people saying hello in English that does not work at all with the rest of the song. It sounds really creepy, and it's even worse when it cuts straight out of that weird creepy bit to a very underwhelming and generic pop chorus. This also is not good. There's only one song with 1997's single, Can You Celebrate by Namie Amuro. Well, there's different mixes, but still only the one song. This song is a lot slower than a lot of the previous songs we've seen. It feels similar to Love Love Love, but more put together. The chorus is a lot less over the top, and it takes a more orchestral approach to composition. My biggest issue with this is, just like the Mr. Children songs we've seen, it's too long. It's a decent song, but the ideas could have been accomplished in 3 to 4 minutes, not the nearly 6.5 that this song takes. It's a pretty slow song that builds up, but it doesn't ever do anything to catch my attention. It's pretty forgettable. For 1998, we have Yuuwaku by GLAY. This is a very large shakeup from every song we've seen prior to this, being a J-rock song that wouldn't sound out of place being released in the modern day. You could take this song pretty much as is and slap it on a major shonen anime, and it would work great. In fact, I'm surprised this isn't remembered in the West in the same way we remember those great anime openings. The singer is expressive and has some great melodies, the guitars are awesome, and the chorus is lofty and hype like we saw in the first couple years of the decade. My only real issue is the little bird chirping noise throughout the first verse and the chorus that just sounds out of place, but it's overpowered by the parts of the song that are great, so it doesn't matter too much. It's my favorite track so far, but I'm also a sucker for this kind of energetic J-rock, so that's a big factor in that. It's a great song though. There's also a second song on this single, that being Little Lovebirds, which seems to focus less on a stellar chorus and instead on some more intricate guitar work and drumming. The drums in particular weren't as prevalent on Yuuwaku, but they're right in the forefront here, and the performance is great. The chorus, while not being as good as it is on the A side, is still pretty solid, helping to complete what is another pretty good track. I might have to look more into GLAY. I really like these two. Finally, in 1999, we have Dango 3 Kyoya by Hayami Kentaro and Shigemori Ayumi. From what I can gather, this is a song intended for children. It's also the highest selling song of the decade, and the 5th highest selling song in Japan's history. So I guess the kids loved it. We both started and ended this decade on children's songs that are absolutely bizarre. The production here is extremely simplistic, and there's nothing here instrumentally that I could see people latching onto enough for this to become a hit. There also isn't really a chorus or verses. It's just kind of one thing over and over. I guess it's like an interesting dancing song if you're a kid. Like the accordion guy kinda goes off. But as someone who's over the age of 6, what am I supposed to get from this? I don't even think I would have liked this if I was under the age of 6. I don't even know what version of this I'm supposed to be listening to. I found a live version of this on YouTube because it was from Kohaku in 1999, and that seemed right. But every video of this on YouTube is a different cover. This is clearly a really popular song that has been prevalent through the decades in Japan, and I have no idea. If you're aware of Japanese kids music and know why, please tell me. Is this just the Japanese equivalent of a meme song? I have no idea. I'm very confused as to why this is the 5th highest selling song ever. So there you go. Here's the list of years, and here's my order of them. Yuuwaku is awesome. I love how different that one is from the rest, and it's super energetic. Ya 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 is a great track that's infectiously positive. For 1991, I'm using Love Story wa Totsuzen ni, because I'm pretty sure that's the most popular song there, and it's great. Even moving down the list, you know, you've got your Mr. Children, who I didn't really like, and then at the bottom, you've got Love, 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 which I thought was just kinda bad, and the Dango song, which, like, shouldn't count. I really don't think that should count, but it's the highest selling song of the decade, and this is a list of high selling songs of the decade, so I gotta have it somehow. I plan on doing this for other decades, and also just individual years maybe, so like, comment, sub, all that fun stuff. Please give me feedback. I genuinely will take it into account to try and make my videos better. Like, if you have a good idea on what I should do, please tell me, and I probably will try and do it for a video. Bye.